Bonnie Ghani. Welcome, everyone. This is Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus, California State University of Long Beach, Africana Studies Department, former city councilman for the city of Compton, former Compton College Board of Trustees, and former Compton Unified School District Board of Trustees. We want to welcome you here to the Conscious Corner, where we have one of the most distinguished guests. Before I get to that, let me introduce you to our panel that's on the line that will be dealing with questions concerning our guest tonight. A very prominent guest, a very unique guest, a very one of the most exciting guests that we've had. We have Brother Ernest McBride, archivist for his father, Ernest McBride Sr., who started the first NAACP in Long Beach, as well as the Optimist Club, civil rights pioneer for the city of Long Beach, recognized for his efforts. They've named schools and recreation centers and just gave him an enormous amount of credit for liberalizing the city of Long Beach and integrating it in its employment, education, and social service program. We want to also welcome co-host over here, Brother Joe Hembrick, historian of the Mott tradition, as well as ancient history, of the first head coach, varsity head coach for Linwood Unified School District, a college administrator at Linwood Unified School District and Compton Unified School District, as well as a longtime educator and teacher. We have also Sister Lynda Shorter, who has what we call a virtual museum out of Florida. She's out of Florida, and she's been, and her brother, Reggie Muhammad, had one of the first bookstores and culture centers in Long Beach years ago. She also worked for the Black newspaper of Long Beach, and she's here also and a strong sister as we celebrate Black History Month too, with Black Women Focus. We have also Brother Mshinda out of Louisiana, longtime advocate and a social service person for youth, working with the youth and transforming their lives and giving and educating the youth in Louisiana and adults and community to be more active and more involved and more comprehensive of what's going on in their environment in the deep, deep south of Louisiana. Who's iPhone number 4?
That's my daughter, Sister Nygi.
We want to welcome Sister Nygi, Brother Rashiki's daughter. Pretty sure she's pretty good. I think she's the one that's going into education. Is that correct?
Yeah, she should be teaching in the fall. She's completing her credential and master's in education as we speak.
That's a beautiful thing. And Brother Rashiki Maskani, who has provided us this platform under the auspices of Community Education Network, which has programs every Wednesday and Thursday and special times, sometimes on Saturday. The one on Thursday deals with reggae music and reggae concepts of what's going on, and at the same time, Community Education Network, where he featured many guest speakers on health as well as recruiting youth to discuss issues that we are dealing with. Again, we're going to welcome Brother Antwone Fisher. If you never heard of that name, you must have had your head stuck in the ground, because this brother is a writer, producer, author. His book was one of the bestsellers on New York one of the book sales, as well as he wrote the motion picture, the Antwone Fisher story, that Denzel Washington starred in as well as directed. We couldn't ask for a better platform than this to discuss why he did it and what made him, motivated him. Very unique life of tenacity and of resilience and of what this brother went through. is something that is a motivation for all people who have hardships and challenges to overcome. So without further delay, we're going to let our guest give us some conversation, and then we're going to go ahead and ask him questions about his life. Brother Antwone Quentin Fisher. Go ahead, Brother Antwone.
Hey, yeah, it's good to be here. It's always, I do podcasts a lot and go speaking around the country, but it's always good to be with your own. And I feel good today. And of course, who doesn't know you, kind sir? I remember one time I was at the Starbucks, me and my wife, and you were standing right in front of us, and she was like, you were Michael Jackson. She was like, hey, that's wrong right there.
You must be kind. You must be kind, brother.
Yeah,
If I say hello,
I will.
that's right.
Yeah, so it's good to meet you and see everybody here, and yeah, I'm excited. I've been writing for over 30 years, writing movies mostly. They haven't made them all, but my job is to write them. They keep hiring me, so I keep writing movies. But every now and then, I think about writing books, and I've written some other books, but I think it was time to write this new book that I have out, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. But
Mm,
you know,
mm,
so there are sometimes some people don't really know they know my name, but they don't know why they know my name, and especially a lot of younger people because the movie came out like maybe 20 years ago.
yeah.
Yeah.
2002, I think.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so it comes on television often enough and that some people are familiar with it who are not who weren't around 20 years ago. I'll tell you a little bit about my story. My father was murdered 2 months before I was born. He was 23 years old. My mother was incarcerated. She was I think she was 19. No, she was like 8. No, she was 17, I think. And my father had a girlfriend who he had 2 children with, and she murdered him, shot him with a shotgun. This was when my mother was incarcerated. So, of course, she couldn't keep me there. And so they put me in an orphanage. I went to one foster home, then another one that was very abusive. And when I turned 14, they removed me, put me back in the orphanage. And they said they were trying to find someone who would take me as a foster kid, but they couldn't find anybody. This is what they said. So they put me in a reform school in Western Pennsylvania, and I stayed there till I graduated from high school. Then a social worker came and told me I was being emancipated, and they were going to be taking me back to Cleveland. I had no idea. I didn't even know what being emancipated was. So he said he would tell me on the way back to Cleveland. So he told me that the state or the county wouldn't be responsible for my taking care of me. After 2 months, I would turn 18 and that I would have to take care of myself. They got me a room at a converted, it was once a YMCA. And so it was converted into a men's shelter and they got me a room there. And they told me I had to find a job within 2 months because the county was going to stop paying for the room. So of course, when I got there, it was a very unsavory place, and it was a long story, but I eventually had to leave there, and so that's when I was like really on the street. So it was very hard, and I could say there's a lot of things I could say about it, but I, I don't know, it's so confusing. A lot of things was going on. I couldn't even organize my thoughts sometimes. I think, but then I thought maybe I should go back to the neighborhood where I was a foster kid. Maybe, some of my childhood friends would see me and maybe I could get some help. And so that's what I did. And I was started sleeping in my friends' houses. The parents didn't know I was there, sleep in the basement, or they sneak me in their room and I'd be sleeping on the floor. I get caught, get kicked out. Spending a lot of nights on the street. And I was homeless from, let's say, I think it was June 14th when I graduated. until 2 days before Christmas that year. So, Cleveland gets cold in the winter, so it was very hard because I couldn't find a place to sleep, someone's place to sleep at every night. But, the thing was when I was emancipated, there were other children that I knew who were foster kids. I knew and remember them from foster care and when I was at the orphanage. And so a lot of, I remember one kid, Leslie, he was start selling himself, you know, and uh, and he didn't last long. I think I know he got murdered, but I don't think it was that long after. Maybe around July. We were out maybe a month on our own, and he was gone after that. And that's the real reason why I left that part of town. So anyway, I 2 days before Christmas, I saw this sign that said "Join the Navy and see the world." So I'm like, I had nothing else to do, so I went in, and they told me they could help me after Christmas to come back after the first. When I told them, I was on the street, I explained everything to them, the recruiters. They were going to go away for the holidays for Christmas, so that's why they asked me to come back. But when I told them my story, they got me a room at a Holiday Inn in downtown Cleveland. Then that morning, they sent someone to get me, took me to the federal building. Then I took the test and did everything. And that night, I was at Great Lakes, Illinois in boot camp. I stayed for 11 years in the Navy. Traveled all around the world, did all the things sailors do. And so I decided that I wanted to take care of myself. When I was 28, and I decided to get out of the Navy. I got out when I was 29. Went to the Federal Law Enforcement Academy, became a federal corrections officer, and I was stationed at the prison at Terminal Island. And I realized that job didn't suit my personality, so I left and heard they were hiring guards at Sony Pictures over in Culver City. I went there, started looking for my family, and I got an Ohio Bell telephone book. And first number I called turned out to be my father's sister. And she said, well, if Eddie's your father, you have a big family. She said, in fact, the deputy mayor of Los Angeles is your cousin. His name was William Elkins. And so I went to see him, and he was all telling me there was people in San Diego. And by the end of the year, they bought me a ticket to go back to Cleveland and meet everybody. It's a long story, but I met my mother while I was there. How they found her. My father's family found her. And I met her, she, I didn't, when you never really had a mother, I didn't know how to react or what to do or what to say. I didn't feel like she owed me anything. It was like meeting a stranger, like somebody I was meeting for the first time. So I came back to LA after meeting them, and I was working at Sony, and my story had got around, and I kept insisting on writing it, and they kept saying no. So I got some legal pads and started writing. And I met this producer. His name is Todd Black. He's a big producer now, but back then he was just getting started, really. And he told me that he thought I had writing talent. So they gave me an office on the 20th Century Fox lot. I left that job at Sony, and they taught me how to write a screenplay. It turned out that I had writing talent. And after that, 10 years later, we made the movie. But in the meantime, I had rewrote like Rush Hour, the first Rush Hour, Money Talks, a bunch of movies, you know. So my thing was writing. So then I wrote my memoir, Finding Fish, and a self-improvement book for young people, and different books. A long story. So
no, but it's a good story.
Everybody got a story.
yeah, but yours is unique because you was resilient. I mean, the challenges you had. Your mother was a teen mother when she had you and was incarcerated at the time that she had you, and you went, and when you got of age, you went and saw them out. I mean, I mean, the way you wrote your book, you wrote your autobiography. I mean, and it's not like you went to writing school. You just developed yourself, your skills, your commitment. And that's very unique. And so we're gonna go around and ask questions right now, brother.
What makes it more unique is that I'm dyslexic and it's hard for me to read. But I have, I decided that something that I was going to get a chance to change my life, so I tried hard, and it's still difficult to read. It doesn't go away. But I fell in love with words. I had a small vocabulary. The words we used in the neighborhood to get through the day. But I didn't know that there was a big treasure chest full of words, different ways you could express yourself with phrases. And that's what I got excited about writing.
And that
Yeah.
that's good. Writing is one of the unique skills. All attorneys must be good writers because they have to write all the time. Everyone has to, that's what books are, notes. When you have people books behind you in your library, there are notes for you. So it's always good. And we need more writers. And your story is a motivator for that. But we're going to go around. Brother Ernest, you have any questions for Antwone?
Just one, like the book you said is a movie out, same name as the book.
No, the book is called Finding Fish. My nickname is Fish. My childhood friends start calling me Fish because my name is Fisher. And the movie is called Antwone Fisher. But I named the book, I named the movie Finding Fish. And when I wrote the memoir, I named it Finding Fish also. But Denzel told me that he felt the movie should be named Antwone Fisher and not Finding Fish. So that's how the name, the movie got the name.
Yeah.
And most people write the book first, but I wrote the movie first, and then I wrote the book. And the reason why I did that was because 10 years I had written the movie in 92, and then it just seemed like they weren't going to make it, and Denzel was looking for a movie to direct in the early 2000s, and he chose mine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah, it wouldn't have gotten made if it wasn't for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, for you that is a revelation for you to meet him, for him to read your script and to choose it. I mean, and the movie made people go out and buy the book. And that's why it was a bestseller. And second, that man, it's a challenge to write for a lot of people. Even myself, I've been a professor writing. I haven't even wrote a book yet, but I'm mentioned in a lot of books, and I wrote parts in books. But for me, to sit down and I'm pretty sure how long. Well, anyway, I'm gonna let other people ask questions, and I got some. Brother.
One more before you go to. You ever come through Long Beach Naval Shipyard?
Well, it wasn't a shipyard when I was there. It was my last duty station. It was a naval station, a base.
Oh, you on the base though?
That was my last duty station. I was stationed.
Because I always perked me up on something, because I worked there for like 33 years, 10 months until they closed in 97. So
yeah,
I worked from 66 and I ran across a lot of military guys,
Yeah, I was there.
On the ships.
Before I was there, I was stationed in Japan, and that's where I decided I wanted to get out. No, I was in Sasebo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I wanted to get out of the Navy, but I didn't have no relatives and nowhere to, a lot of people, when they got out, they go to their uncle's house or back home for a little while till they get on their feet. But I didn't have that. So I needed to find a city to live in where I could look for a job while I was still in the Navy. So I extended my time in the Navy and I asked to go to Long Beach. And that's when I started looking for a job. And then I found that job at the prison. And then when my time came to get out, I got out.
Well, I spoke at Terminal Island about 3 or 4 times at a Black culture group when I was speaking there. And then your relative, Bill Elkins, I've met him many times when he, in his political career, he was a strong brother, tall brother. Bill Elkins, nobody was, I mean, he was very strong in Los Angeles politics. Brother Hembrick, you have any questions?
Yeah, brother. I appreciate your writings and your movie. I've seen it several times. It's a great movie. My question is, towards the end when you met the rest of your relatives at your aunt's house, and I know Hollywood always adds and subtracts from the truth. But my question is, do you have a good relationship with your relatives that you met towards the end of the movie?
Yes. The fortunate thing for me was that I wrote the story myself and they didn't, no one else wrote it. There were some things that I wrote the way I wrote it. I had to write some things, like, for example, I find my family while I'm in the Navy in the movie, but I actually found them when I was working at Sony Pictures, the movie studio. And the reason why I did it that way is because if I found them while I was in the Navy, then they'd need to have a whole new cast for when I'm out of the Navy. Denzel couldn't be in the movie anymore and the other characters, and it would cost too much. So just truncated it a little bit. And when I met my family, my father's side, there were 10 of them, my uncles and aunts, and they were all great, and great to me. They were, when they saw me, I never felt like I looked like anybody, but they were telling me my mannerisms was like my father's and I looked like him. I was, they hadn't seen, my father was murdered in 1959, the year I was born. And his other 2 children, one was 18 months and one was like, I think 4 months. And then I wasn't even born yet. So when he died, um, so they hadn't seen him in a long time. And so they were really kind of doting over me. It's kind of overwhelming for me because I had never been used to that kind of attention or for the purpose. And they were all strangers, really. But the interesting thing about it is the place where I lived in the foster home, my uncle, his name was Raymond, he lived 2 streets over. So I went to elementary school with my cousins and didn't know that they were my actual family. And when I went to junior high, I would walk down the street called Parkwood, and this apartment building would always catch my attention because it was right in the curve. But that's where my father lived when he was murdered, and my grandparents. And so for a little while there, I was walking by there, and they were actually there, still living there. So I was right in the neighborhood where my family lived. They just didn't know.
Any other questions, Joe?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Brother Mshinda still with us?
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, I like to thank Brother Antwone Fisher for coming on tonight. I'm like Brother Hembrick said, I've seen the movie of many times. It's one of when you flick it through the channels, they replay a lot of movies and different things. We have so much access to different media and things like that. But that was one movie that I would lock into and probably watch again and again. And what I found, the story was, not only interesting, but it was very moving, you know, working with not only young people, but, many ages, different groups throughout my life, but at the time when I keyed into the movie, I can relate to it on other levels. Of course, my family was basically intact to a certain degree. I mean, I was, single mom family. After a while, I was in a single mom family like a lot of us. Um, but at the end of the day, I analyzed that movie and really just got a lot of positive energy from it, in spite of, you know, uh, what you were going through, what was presented from your experience, So I think, and it's people like you who I draw my inspiration, my energy from, So I just don't watch movies or read things just to be doing it. I'm not a non-fictional kind of guy in terms of, what I like to, as far as my medium, I like, true stories. Well, I said nonfiction. I don't like fictional stuff. I like nonfiction. And your story was very moving, you know, and it's an honor and to be on this podcast tonight. I've been with this group for over 5 years. I guess we've been doing this a while. And for you to come on tonight, that shows a lot in terms of, you're a regular person. We're all regular people. We all do what we do in life and help people. And, I just like to show my appreciation that you're part of that team. And as far as your personal, uh, accolades and things like that, that should be celebrated. I just want to ask, Brother Fisher, how did you connect with Denzel, or how did he connect with you?
Okay, well, I had met Denzel many times when I was a security guard at Sony Pictures because that's where his office was at the time. And I had become friends with his wife's niece. Her name was Rita Pearson. And when I found my family, of course, I told Rita, and so we talk about it. But then when I started writing, uh, I'd given her like the first draft of something I read. I had written my story, and she gave it to Pauletta, from what I understand. And then, but it was many years that went by before Denzel got it. And the way he got it was the producer was trying to put it together. And so he went to Lawrence Fishburne and he was going to play the commander, but he wanted to direct it as well. Then he went to Will Smith to play me, and then he got busy and doing bigger movies. Then it was Cuba Gooding at one time, but people started getting older and older, so they didn't look young enough to play me in the era that I was at that time. So Denzel was looking for a movie to direct, and the producer sent it to his agent. And when Denzel read it, he was surprised that everybody had read it years ago before him, but he liked it and he wanted to meet me. So I met him up on Pico at a restaurant called Preemie, and we hit it off. Denzel's a really great person, and when you people think about Denzel, of course, you see him on the big screen, and you see, he's a movie star, a wealthy guy and all that. But when you're talking to him, he just seemed like I'm talking to you guys. He never lost his humility, or I remember we were in Cleveland, we were walking down the street where first street that I lived on, and it was had changed. It was pretty dangerous, and we got to the bottom of the hill, and there's a bunch of guys gathered around a car. It looked like they were up to something, but I didn't see him. Denzel saw him first, and he stopped, and that's when I stopped. But the producer kept walking. He didn't have the street radar, so Denzel's radar is still intact because walking around Cleveland could be pretty rough. So, but I can say, I don't know, if I always say, if I live forever, I could never thank him enough for what he did for me. And, he didn't stop, looking out for me, so we were very protected. We were under the umbrella of protection during the time we made the movie. And Denzel has, been a great person to me ever since.
Do you think that Derek Luke portrayed you pretty well?
Yes, I discovered Derek Luke.
Is that right?
Let me tell you a story of how I discovered Derek Luke. See, Derek worked in the candy store on the Sony Picture Studio lot. I had never seen any black people working in there as employees before. I could see that he was an employee, so I went over and say, man, what you doing in here? Shoplifting? He said, no, man, I work in here. He said, what are you doing in here? I said, I'm a screenwriter. He said, yeah, right. I said, no, I'm not kidding. I've been screenwriting for years. He said, so what have you written? And I started telling him some of the things. He said, man, get out of here. I said, no, we're actually doing a movie uh, that I wrote about myself. And Denzel is going to direct it. He said, is that the movie? Because we were casting on the lot. And I said, yeah, that movie. I'm Antwone. And he said, can I read the script? And I said, yeah, you can read it. And he read it. And I came back one day. He said, man, can I audition? I said, I don't know, man. I have to ask the producer. So I asked the producer, could he audition? And he said, yeah, I know who you're talking about, but we'd have to ask Denzel. But Denzel said, all the actors came through, but none of them could be emotional. It was a kind of emotional movie. And there are times when you have to be able to do that and have it be a realistic. That's what we wanted. But everybody who came through could not get there what Denzel wanted. So Denzel had him come over, and Derek started almost crying when he came to the room. So Denzel had him read and do some other stuff, and Denzel told me that he's emotionally available. I can help him with the rest, and that's how his career started.
Yeah,
Wow.
I saw him in My Dear Go to Jail. He's in that movie and a couple of other movies. He's a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
And you got him started. That's beautiful.
Yeah, everybody got a beginning,
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
a good guy too, It was interesting about that movie. Joey Bryan, Derek, and the boy who played me as a little boy, Malcolm Kelly.
Yeah.
Malcolm got adopted while we were making Antwone Fisher.
Oh,
And Joy had been in foster care, the girl who played Derek's girlfriend.
yeah.
And then Derek had some time when he was in it too. So it was kind of like the people, the cast was kind of in it for more than just, they wanted to express that story. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Okay. Sister Lynda, you there, Florida?
Yes, I'm here.
You have any
And
questions?
oh yes, of course. I got so caught up listening to what he was saying, but and I did see the movie. It was excellent. But I had a couple questions for you because
Mhm.
I've adopted twice, my daughter and my granddaughter, and to
Mhm.
keep them out of foster care. So I kind of know a little bit of what you've gone through. But you mentioned at the beginning that you have a book that's geared toward children or young people, you said. So
Yeah.
my first question is, do you have any children yourself?
Yes, I have two daughters.
Daughters, okay.
I have one's 28 and the other one is 24. I was a late bloomer. I had my second kid when I was 43, and my first one when I was 37.
Okay, so was that part of the reason that you wrote the book for the
No,
children, for young people?
no, no, no. This is how I wound up reading that book, writing that book. It's a self-improvement book for boys and girls, but the title would make you think it's for boys only. But I was telling my wife about myself in boot camp. And at that time when I was in, we wore the Admiral style uniform, not the crackerjack uniform. We had to wear a tie and a double breasted jacket. And my foster father was a preacher, and I saw him tie his tie forever, but he never actually taught me. But I thought, I was seeing him doing it. When I got to boot camp, they were teaching us how to tie a half Windsor, but I couldn't do it because I kept thinking that I already knew how to do it. And I was so frustrated, got in a little bit of trouble because I couldn't follow instructions. They thought I wasn't following instructions or listening. But I told her, I kept thinking, a boy should know how to tie a tie. He should know, he should have taught me. She said, you should write a book. a self-improvement book. You can call it A Boy Should Know How to Tie a Tie. But it covers a lot of stuff, boys and girls. Of course, if you're living in this world, you have to know or have an idea, things that I didn't know. I thought, as a foster kid, they didn't talk to me and my foster siblings that much about some things they should have and some things they may have talked to their own children about. So I was behind. And so the book did well, and it won the NAACP award for best instructional book. And all my books do well. I hope this book does well as well.
Okay. Any other question, Lynda?
No, where can I find the book
Well,
for the young people? Where can I find it? I know you just said it, NAACP, but where can I find it?
You just go to, it's been off the shelves for a long time, but Barnes and Noble has it.
Okay.
You can go there and special order it, or you can order it on Amazon or any place like that.
What's the title of it?
A Boy Should Know How to Tie Tie and other lessons for succeeding in life. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Dr. Sharita, are you there? I'm from Ghana. All right, we'll move on. Rashiki?
Yes, family, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm very grateful that the brother is sharing his story. I like a good story, so I just feel like it feels like a bedtime story right now, the way he expresses everything. But I'm driving and on my way to my dance class, so I just wanted to give thanks for you coming on. And I didn't really have any. Well, I did have one question. Do you have any? Are you working with children? Or you have any organization or nonprofit organization that working with children? Or is there anything that help? Even I guess like teachers to be able to see signs of different things that you went through, so they can reach out and be able to help. Is there some sort of?
Well, I don't. I've been pretty busy in my little life. I feel like I focus on my kids and try to make sure that I send some decent kids out into the world. And but I go around. I go around the country speaking on behalf of some nonprofits who do great work for kids. For me, having a nonprofit and those kind of things would be too much with all the other things that I do. But that is what I can offer, and so that's what I do.
Good.
A lot of it too is that I didn't have it as bad as my foster sibling, my foster brother, and I knew so many other kids who had a tougher time than me. Some of it was because they wanted like love. They wanted a family. They wanted the things that they should have had. And as a kid, it should have been there for them. But me, I was the kind of kid. They said I had a fatalistic attitude about everything, but I was depressed and I was shy, and so I didn't speak very much. And so, but I thought a lot, and I watched people a lot more than some kids, and I was able to learn how to watch people and feel my way through life. I felt like I should be able to find some joy in life away from the idea of child abuse and that kind of thing, and focus on my kids to try to make sure they had a good life and education. And what I could do is tell my story like I'm doing now, and that probably is the as much as at this point that I can do.
All right.
To be honest.
Yeah. Give thanks.
And Dr. Sharita is an entrepreneur and runs a health food store in Compton, and she goes back and forth to Ghana, and she's deep into nutrition and stuff. That's Dr. Sharita. We're very always happy for her to be on when she's in town in the country. We have also brother, what about Debra Suzette Brown? Are you there, Debra? Well, she may have stepped away.
Yes, can you hear me? Yes, sir, I'm here.
Would you like to ask a question?
Well, yes, I remember watching the movie, and I watched it at a time my husband and I were foster parents. We adopted 10 children,
Wow.
and I have one biological daughter, and now we are raising our granddaughter. And I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And I remember watching the movie. It was very emotional to me. And it made me think about a lot of things that my children went through, some of the things they went through. Like I had my daughter, she came to me when she was 12, and she had been abused by a school teacher. And her outlet was reading. And we talked about this the other day. She's 41 now, and she's in New Jersey, and we talked about how she just put everything she had in reading. And I have another daughter. She's a track coach at the university. She was a baby though, and both of her parents were schizophrenic. So my kids and my son was abused also. He came from Philadelphia. He was 15 months old, but it. I'm very involved here in Atlanta. I have a nonprofit for grandparents raising grandchildren, and I'm getting ready to change my career and start going around speaking about adoption. But foster care, I've been doing that for almost 40 years. And I just want to commend you for what you went through. I do have a question. You went through a lot of trauma. Did you ever get the psychological?
I've been going psychiatrists my whole life. They sent me to they sent they sent me to a child psychiatrist when I was a kid. Because I was so quiet, they didn't know what was going on. But I knew what was going on. I just didn't talk very much. I was a shy kid, still kind of shy.
Yeah.
In the Navy, obviously, when I would get upset, I would ask to talk to somebody. And, in the Navy, you can't talk to everybody about your story like mine. So, and they make that possible. And, I go every Friday at 10:45. If somebody wanted to do something to me, they'd see me parked outside of my therapist's office. But at this point, I don't have the same kind of issues that I had as a kid now. I'd be in there cracking jokes and be in there laughing. I think that's the best hour of money that he makes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And but I have a lot of appreciation. I like the conversations that we have. I still learning a lot about myself and about other people in life. Not that he knows everything, but I think talking together, almost like peers.
Yeah.
In some areas, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I was strong. I was very strong on all my kids went. Well, the one child did not go to therapy. She's now in her 50s and she's going through depression and a lot of other things. But I find that to be very beneficial is to go through counseling therapists. But
You have to have the right person too, though. Some people can cause you more problems.
that's true. And I am culturally diverse. All my kids went to African American therapists, male and female. So I just felt like that they could communicate more openly with someone that looked like them.
That's true. I believe that too.
So that's why. But I tell you, it's amazing. I look at my kids now and they just bring tears to my eyes. I used to cry at night just wondering, and how did they survive going through all of the trauma they went through and the rejection and all of that. And I think it just made me just work harder as a mother to try to make sure I couldn't replace their mom or relatives, but try to make sure they had an opportunity. And as I tell anyone that I talk to, that children can overcome generational curses. So I know that for a fact, but they need that person to help to let them know that you can love people that hurt you, but you don't have to be like people that hurt you. And a lot of them, not a lot of them, but a few of my kids, they went back to their birth family and they found out that nothing had changed. And they ended up getting caught back into that same type of lifestyle that brought them into care. So, I'm just really, it's a pleasure meeting you. I saw that movie and you look wonderful. You don't the movie's been around for a while, but you really look really young. So
I'll be
that
67 this year.
you don't look it. You don't.
Wow.
Mm.
You don't. You really
Wow.
I don't know.
you
All
can
right.
take care of yourself.
All right. All right.
All right, now you got to give up the secrets. Now you have to give up the secrets.
I
At
don't
least
know.
2.
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know. A lot of times, we don't give ourselves credit enough. If you compare yourself with other people who are not of this culture, or you'll find that, but you'll find there are people among us. It's just like that sometimes. I don't know why I feel like I still have a lot of collagen in my skin. I don't know. But
Flag don't crack.
yeah, that's the bottom line, right? As James Brown said, that's the bottom line.
Right. All right. What about Rashiki?
Yes, yes. I'm just I'm really, overjoyed that this brother came on. I really appreciate you. I watched the movie last night. I ordered the book Saturday, so I'm kind of late on things as far as I've seen the movie before, but just talking to you and watching the movie, and listening to this evening, it's just I take my hat off to you because I think you're one of the, I mean, probably one of many of, great people that we have on the earth. We do have great people around. I mean, if you look at the media doesn't show the goodness that we have because it's always focused on many negative things, what's popular and negative, and being in the society that we're in. Um, and I want to also thank Barry Thomas for bringing you to our platform. If it wasn't for him, I don't think we would have met you. Um, One thing I noticed, I looked at a YouTube video and I was watching you, and you were doing one of your talks. Have you ever did stand up? Because you were kind of comedic in your approach.
I know I told you guys I'm shy, but sometimes when I get nervous, I do that, start making things funnier, and it relaxes me when I hear people laughing. I don't know. I gotta tell you about this. I've always been shy, never really spoke that much, but because of Antwone Fisher and the books and going out on the road and talking, I have come to speak more. But it just never was in my nature to be that outgoing and to talk a lot. But I think from the world I came from, it probably saved me because I was more reserved than my foster brother and some of the other foster kids I knew that would do things that I would never do. And I think a part of it was because I was shy. And I used to hate it that I was shy. But at some point, I guess I was a little older, I realized if it wasn't for being shy, I may not have turned out the way I did.
Well, I tell you, your demeanor is nice and calm, and so it settles it settles people. So now when I was watching the movie, you was feisty in that, young as a younger person because you was getting busy with people, hitting people and all of that. But you would
Yeah.
never think that sitting here watching this and talking to you.
Well,
But just much appreciation. I had questions, but people already asked the questions that I had. And I just want to thank you, brother, for being with us this evening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate being here. And I'm going to say something about that fighting. I grew up in Cleveland, and fighting was a part of what you had to do. It's almost like you're not going to get away with, during the school year. Some people could, but I couldn't. It's just always, sometimes maybe it's because you're quiet and people think that, and me and my foster brother used to fight all the time. So it was one of the things that, you grow up doing. And I shouldn't have been fighting in the Navy. I'll tell you the reason why I was fighting that particular guy. That was a true story. But Denzel took out the reason why. He didn't understand the reason why I had done it. So anyway, I was shaving, as it shows me doing in the movie. And I was using sea breeze and a cotton ball on my face, astringent, after I shaved. But I didn't shave well enough, so some of the cotton fibers got caught on my whiskers. And the white guy said to me, he said, "What's that on your face, Fisher?" I said, it's cotton." He said, "What's with you people in cotton?" He told me that. But then I started fighting him. But Denzel didn't understand. He said, if somebody was said that to me, I'd have jumped on him too. So it doesn't really pan out, show anything, because he provoked you. But the point is, we were in the Navy, and it doesn't matter what anybody says to each other, you're supposed to be fighting. But the real point was when I went to captain's mess, and the captain says, "Fisher, you said this was precipitated by a racial slur." And then I said, "Yes, sir." But the audience didn't see that racial slur here. So it looked like I was lying in the movie. So it just got taken out. So, but you're young. I got it. I have to tell you, I was convinced, like a lot of kids and where I grew up, that fighting was a part of it growing up, and it was a part of it. And you don't always win. It's not like I was a good fighter or anything, but I would fight. If somebody was gonna try to say bully me, I would fight. I would not run. I would run, but if you caught me, I was gonna fight you. What I mean, I wasn't gonna keep running. Because you can't keep doing that.
Mm.
So,
Any other questions,
Appreciate
Roger?
you, brother.
Antwone, again, it's an honor to have you here. Just a couple of questions. You received an honorary doctorate from Cleveland State University. How did that come about?
It's interesting. They gave it to me because of the work I had done. And a part of it, this was an honorary degree. I had written books, I had made movies, I had been going around speaking about foster care and talking to young people back then. And during commencement ceremonies, I think that they choose someone that they would want to give that honor to. And they chose me that year. And I was really grateful because, Cleveland State University, part of it, it's a big university, is downtown near the shelter where I was. I felt safe going on the campus. So I would be on the campus just walking around, trying to blend in, wishing I could be one of those kids who was fortunate enough to have nice clothes and be going to the university. I felt safe over there. And it was one of the places where I could use the restroom and, wash my face and that kind of stuff. And it was interesting when I came back, I was in a limousine with two kids and a wife, and it pulled up to university. I remember walking with the professors and remember being in those exact pathway when I was homeless over there. And it felt good. I came back and I felt good about it.
Okay, but the other question is, like, when you were adopted and then you got of age, how difficult it is for them to adopt for teenagers, especially Black teenagers. Did you notice that, or do you reflect on that, or was it difficult?
I was never adopted.
Oh,
I spent my entire time in foster care. Yeah. Well, I don't, I get the feeling that a part of the problem back then is that if the parent doesn't want to allow you to be adopted, nobody can adopt you. That you have to get permission. Your parents have to give you up. And if they don't give you up, you just stay in limbo like that. So I was in foster care for the 18 years, the whole 18.
okay. But now the other question is your writing skills.
Yes.
They're mainly self-developed. You didn't go to writing school or anything like that. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay, so how challenging it is for young Black people who may want to write scripts, who want to get a shot like you got a shot.
Yeah.
How challenging it is today. You just saw the Academy Awards.
Yes.
And people are upset about, sinners that they didn't get more awards than what they got. But you're in the industry. You see the industry.
Yeah.
How challenging is it for Black people?
It's just super, super challenging. If you see a Black person doing something in Hollywood, then that's something, whether you like them or like their work or not, because a part of what's natural for someone to do is to want to tell their own story because that's what you know. And sometimes you can't even, you won't be considered even to write your own story. Like, for example, I think it's Straight Outta Compton with Ice Cube and all those guys. It was written by a Jewish guy, a Jewish person, Jewish kid. I could have wrote that, but they didn't want, obviously they didn't want me, they didn't consider me. And also, when people have influence, like a lot of work that I got through producers or actors or other writers, or the studios call me and that kind of thing. But, but more than not, I haven't been called to write a story that wasn't have some Black element to it, like a theme. So yes, I'll get hired to write movies, but it would be something like Antwone Fisher or some other movie that was, because I don't think that we're considered, or maybe some people don't think that the way they look at us, we wouldn't understand their life. I had this situation. There was a movie made about Tupac, and the studio called me and asked me if I would look at the screenplay. It was like top secret. When it got to the house, it was like for your eyes only. I was like, it must be good. Tupac, for your eyes only, it had on there. So I read it and it was not good. And so when I went to the studio, they asked me what I thought. And I told them, there's something missing that I asked them who wrote it. And it was some Jewish guy, right? So I said, did he ever talk to like Snoop or Jada or anybody who knew him? He said, no, well, he captured Tupac's voice watching YouTube videos. And then I was just thinking, there's a cultural thing that just naturally flows out of people, because when you're writing or directing a movie about a certain group of people, like I wrote a movie about a Jewish woman and this Black guy named Tila Rock. So I went and volunteered up in Fairfax at a Jewish convalescent home called The Guardian. And I was there for a long time. I got to meet some of them, the people who were there. And it wasn't like I was capturing their voice. I was just trying to understand, because people have different cultures. And, that has to come through, not like a hammer, but it has to come through subtly so it'll be believable. You have to know how people speak. And a part of the reason why I can write good dialogue is because I didn't speak much myself, but I was always watching people and I was always listening. And so it's become a knack for me. So we're limited in what we can do, what we can write based on other people's fear that we may not be able to get it because we're not of the culture. But people feel like they know us well enough to write about us.
So are you still employed with the studios? And they call upon you.
When you're employed with a studio, it's only for the time when you're writing the project. So the last project I did was like last year with a escape artist at the time over Sony, and and then I decided to write a book, so I took off, trying to get work through the studios. But I've been writing for 30 years, but a lot of the work I've been writing on other people's movies, like doing the dialogue and that kind of thing too.
Now, do you still have your relationships with the shot callers up there in the studio? You work for different studios.
I work for all the studios. I'll tell you this. When I first started, I was always the youngest person in the room when I would go to the studios and have a meeting. Then came a time when I was the same age as the executives. Now when I go, they stand up and say, "Hey, Mr. Fisher," just put the hand out. So I'm like a punk now going into the studios. So the people change. So now there's younger people who are running the studios, and this is why you get movies like Batman, Spider-Man, all the mans. You get all of those superhero movies because that's what they liked seeing when they were young. They like those comic books, and they get the chance to make what they want to make. And if you come to the studio and you have a good idea, they may not want to spend that money that they have to make movies on the movie, even though it might be good. They may not feel that. Like a lot of people outside, just from all over the world love Antwone Fisher, the movie, because it's a kind of a human interest story. It's the kind of thing that happened to a lot of people, what happened to me in other countries. It's just like, so people can relate to that. So it doesn't seem so much like what some people might consider a Black film. It just seems like a story that happened to someone, and that person happened to be Black, and with that comes his culture and the other stuff. But there are some movies there are people who just don't want to spend the money on movies that they may have to market to a community that's not theirs.
Now, what about the piracy? I mean, when I was working with the Ron Settles case, he was hung in the Signal Hill jail. We were demonstrating. They was going to make a movie about it. And they had us all down, I think, at that time, 21st century or something, I forget. And then they didn't make the movie after they interviewed the people. Then the next thing they know, they came out with this movie called Blue Shield that was really about some of these concepts were the ones that we had given them in the interview. And they got Ice Cube to play in that Blue Shield. Is there a lot of piracy from ideas? You have to really be careful.
Yeah, you have to be careful because yes, you have to be careful. and for me, I figure if somebody take an idea from me, I know that I'm not like a one-trick pony. I don't have to have another idea in my head at the moment, but it's what I do. I have ideas. So they come. So if someone obviously take or harvest from your screenplay and you see it in another movie, then that's fine. Okay. So I know I have the goods, right? They can't resist. So they always keep you on the plate.
All right.
Don't say anything.
And this last question. When you're writing a script or writing things, some people say, it depends on if you're writing for a sitcom or things of that nature. There's a certain amount of pages you're supposed to have
Yes.
for a movie to make sure you can get the 2 hours, an hour and a half, whatever you're going to make it.
Yes.
And then second, the notion that as you put that together, you write the script, and how did the script structure go different from just writing a story? I mean, do you write each character role in the
Yes.
script?
Everything that's in the script, everything you go to a movie, everything you see, everything you hear, meaning sounds that are around you or what people are saying, if it matters what they have on, or if there's a particular car that the person has, you have to write it in there. So everything that you see on the screen is actually on the paper, in the screenplay first. So that's how the filmmakers will know what to get. So if you write a scene that happens at a gas station, the props people and the set designer, they know what a gas station looks like, but they may ask you, well, what kind of gas station? What does it look like? So you have to describe it, not in great detail, but you have to say what it is, if it matters, so they can know what to build.
Mhm.
And people want to know what they have to say, what their lines are. And you have to write the lines for everybody who's in the movie. And that's what's so hard about writing screenplays, because some people don't know how to all the actors sound alike because they're using the same dialogue or the same words in their dialogue. It's not easy to write a screenplay. The one I just finished last year, it was took me 2 years to write it.
And that's what I was concerned about, because it's not like writing a book.
No.
And Denzel them take it and they put the emotions in it. They internalize the concept.
Yes, but you have to write.
They bring it to life.
You have to write it in a way. You have to write it in a way that they understand that this is what this calls for. Because if they come up with it on their own, and then later on in the script, this isn't the person's personality, then they got a problem in the editing room because this person doesn't supposed to behave that way. So they have to do what is in the screenplay. It's like a map or a schematic. If they start doing things, let me tell you, I was working on Money Talks with Chris Tucker, and Chris was saying, but Antwone, this is not even funny. I said, it's supposed to be funny. He said, but this is a comedy. I said, yeah, but if you don't say it, it's not, the story is going to start unraveling because later on something happens. You have to say that or it won't make sense later on. So some actors just think about the scenes that they're in. And some actors who are in the whole movie, they don't know the whole movie until they get to it. So I have to know the character before they start. Some of them do their own research, try to invent the character, talk to the director, and the director, usually the writer don't talk to anybody because it's the director's movie. So and a lot of times on the set, they don't allow the writer to be around because people have a habit of walking up to the writer saying, "What do you mean by this?" And then you start telling them what you meant. It might not be what the director wants, and then there's a problem on the set. So usually writers are not allowed when they're making the movie.
Well, listen, unless someone have another burning question that they didn't thought of, we want to thank Antwone for coming on. Excuse me, sharing his wealth of knowledge, his personal experience, and for us to have a celebrity of his stature on is very, very excellent. We've had numerous celebrities.
Excuse me,
Yeah,
Professor Rahh.
yeah.
Barry Thomas is here. He wants to
And
say
your
something.
daughter too. Your daughter is you can call on her.
Well, she said she didn't have a question.
Okay. Go ahead, Barry.
Yo, hello everybody.
All
I
right.
just wanted to say, hey, Antwone, I appreciate you getting by me to take the time to share some information with us all tonight on the podcast. It means a lot. And I appreciate you for what you do and for the long-term friendship, brother. Just wanted to let you know, but thank you for gracing us tonight with your presence.
Well, thank you, Barry. I appreciate you too, brother.
Yeah, and I hope to stay in contact with you too, Antwone.
Sure.
You know, but Rashiki tomorrow.
Hmm?
Who we have on tomorrow?
We have Portwood Williams, and he's a part of the first successful sit-in in Oklahoma City in 1958. So that's our guest for tomorrow, Portwood Williams.
And Antwone,
Yes, sir.
You have any closing comment?
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. You know, I know what you're saying. I understand you're talking about me and me being on the show, but I appreciate it, and I was looking forward to it. And like I told you, it's not often, I get invited by my own folks to be on, it's everybody else contact agents and stuff like that, but we didn't get together through agent. It's more of a natural community thing, and that makes it better, you know what I mean? So I appreciate it.
Does he have an email? Do you have an email address in case we think of something later?
I have a website. You can just contact me through a website.
Okay, what is it?
I'm sorry?
Yes, can I have it, please?
Your
website.
You want to, it's Antwone-Fisher.com, right? I think that's
I showed it a few times this evening. I can flash it again. We have Antwone. We have Brother he's one of our Fab Five that comes almost every show, and he just came. So I wanted to ask him, if you don't mind, do we have a question before we leave out? He just arrived. Is that okay?
I do not have a question. No.
All right.
Okay.
Well, next, Antwone, again, thank you, brother. This has been a beautiful session. This will be on YouTube in case your daughters and Lynette, your wife, and any of them want to see it. I'll see the interview. When will it be up on YouTube? After you edit it?
Yes, I'll have it up tonight.
No, right there. So they need to go to Community Education Network and the podcast on YouTube.
Okay.
All right then.
All right now.
Thank you. All right, you take care, Mom.
You too.
All
right. Each one teach one. In Conscious Corner, everybody continue to have a great day.
All right then.
All right.